Welcome to this overview video of the SAP PLM's Creo connector for Aras Innovator. The connector allows you to access the PLM functionalities right from within the Creo environment and to manage the flow of information between the Aras database and the Aras Vault and the Creo session and the local work directories. On the one hand, the Creo connector fully adopts and supports the Aras CAD model. As it will be clear in a few moments, this includes creating and managing parts and CAD documents in the Aras database, and the storing and handling of the Creo native files in the Aras Vault. On top of that, the connector automatically creates and manages the associated BOMs and CAD hierarchies and takes care of the part number registration in Aras. On the other hand, the connector also supports all the Creo features, dependencies and component states. This includes, among other things, the ability of the connector to write PLM information into assembly and part parameters and to handle Creo family tables. Today's video will cover the following topics: the integration of the connector within Creo, registering and storing an assembly into Aras Innovator, automatically generating and storing the associated BOM, generating part numbers in Aras, the bidirectional mapping between the Creo drawings and 3D model and Aras Innovator, retrieving an assembly from Aras Innovator, reusing parts and assemblies that already exist in Aras Innovator. As we will see in a few moments, thanks to the SAP PLM's Creo connector, all these functionalities are available right from within Creo. This greatly improves the CAD designer's efficiency, facilitates and fosters the collaboration in the design phase, and ensures that users, with the appropriate permissions, will have access to the latest generation. Let's first have a look at how the connector is integrated in Creo. Accessing the connector functions is as easy as opening your Creo environment and using the integrated connector ribbon menu. Without leaving Creo, you can register your CAD data and generate part numbers, store your parts, assemblies and BOM into Aras Innovator, retrieve your Creo files from Aras Innovator, lock and unlock in Aras Innovator the models and drawings currently in session, insert existing parts from the PLM system, replace parts of your Creo design by selecting parts from Aras Innovator, check the status of the files open in session to check if any of the files open in session are at an latest generation or if there are modified copies, and to be able to revert them to their latest PLM generation, reuse parts and assemblies already existing in Aras Innovator as a starting point for a new design, access your local workspace explorer, fine-tune the connector settings. I have loaded an assembly from my local work folder. This assembly has a few parameters already defined. As we will see in a moment, the SAP PLM's connector is able not only to map these values to Aras attributes, but also to write Aras attribute values back into the Creo files. That is useful, for example, when you need to have the Aras revision and CAD document numbers synced on your Creo files. I also created a drawing for the top assembly and for the chassis component. Let's have a quick look at the title block of each of them. On the assembly drawing, some of the information is synced with the 3D model, such as market or reference code. As we will see in a few moments, some of these title block attributes will be filled out by the connector using information taken from the Aras Innovator PLM system. Analogously, some of the title block attributes of the part drawing are synced with the associated 3D model, such as material, for example, while others will be filled out automatically by the connector, such as manufacturing method, or the PLM document number and revision of the 3D model and of the drawing itself. We're now ready to register our assembly, components and drawings. I don't necessarily need to have the drawings open in session, the connector will find them for me. There is a pop-up message alerting me that the connector is set up to rename files. I click yes, and I access what is called the Register Hierarchy Explorer. This window has the important function to allow me to revise all the information before committing to register my design into the PLM system. First of all, I will create part numbers for all my new PLM parts and CAD documents. There are 3 ways to generate part numbers. You can do them manually by typing the part numbers like this. Or you could search for existing part numbers in Aras Innovator and associate those numbers to the current CAD design. This could be useful, for example, in case an ERP system injects the part numbers into the PLM system. Or you could have the connector automatically generate part numbers for you. It is as easy as selecting all items and clicking on Generate Part Numbers. The connector can use an Aras sequence, as in this example, or even an Aras server method that allows one to implement more complex part number logic. This icon confirms that these are all new parts that the connector will create for me in the PLM system. As you can see, the name, description, type, PLM attributes have been mapped using information from the Creo files. I select the top assembly. The bottom left area shows information about family tables, drawings, and PLM CAD documents associated to the selected assembly or part. The connector is able to manage your drawings, and it will create an Aras CAD document for each of them and apply all the property mappings to and from the PLM system. Finally, this is the Aras CAD document that the connector will create for the 3D model Creo file. On the right-hand side, the connector displays detailed PLM information of the Aras parts and CAD documents that are going to be created. I could even modify this information, for example by assigning a subtype to one of the Aras parts. This action has two effects. It assigns a value to the PLM attribute in the PLM system, and these values can also be written back to the Creo files if needed. We will see this in action in a few moments. I click Register and the connector creates part items and CAD document items in the PLM. The actual files are not copied to the PLM Vault yet. This allows the designers to reserve part numbers early in the design process, keep working on their design, and store the files at a later moment. The connector asks if I want to continue with storing the files to the Aras Vault. I click No and I continue working on my design. Notice that the files have been renamed in Session and in the local work folder. In this case, I configure the Creo connector to match the new file names with the PLM CAD document number. Notice that some mappings have already taken place, such as the revision and PLM document number for the 3D model, or the author, creation, date, and PLM numbers and revisions in the title blocks. Let's open the connector settings and have a look at the property mappings and what you can achieve with the connector. This tab shows all the property mappings between Creo and Aras Innovator for all the Creo file types: assemblies, parts, drawings, assembly and part instances. The connector easily adapts to your business needs, as for each of the Creo file types, specific property mappings can be defined. These, for example, are the mapping properties from the Creo part files to the Aras CAD document items and Aras part items. The PLM property description, for example, is mapped from the Creo parameter description. It is a forward mapping from Creo to Aras. But as we have just seen, backward mappings can also be defined for 3D models and drawings. That means that the connector is able to write PLM information back into the Creo files. For example, this mapping tells the connector to write the PLM revision back into the Creo parameter revision. Aras methods can also be used, plus unique connector keywords. All these degrees of freedom ensure that the connector can adapt to a wide variety of real-case situations. Is it easy to define these property mappings, and where can one do that? Notice that I'm logged in to my Aras Innovator instance. All the connector mappings and settings are items in Aras Innovator, and creating and modifying them is as easy as logging into the PLM system as an admin, opening these connector items in the PLM, and simply selecting the right options from the drop-down menus or type the property names with a very easy and intuitive syntax. The most challenging part is to design a connector solution that satisfies all your business needs and allows you to reach your goals. And the SAP-PLM consultants can help you design such an optimal connector solution, guiding you through the process of discovering and analyzing your goals and translating those needs into a working and efficient connector solution. As your CAD designers may work on different projects for different customers or in different world regions, they may need to adopt different connector settings depending on the situation. That is why the connector also allows you to create connector projects. You can think of these connector projects as a set of connector settings. From within Creo, the user can switch to another connector project, and the connector immediately adopts the settings defined for that project. Among other things, the connector is able to generate viewable files for your drawings, parts and assemblies, such as 2D or 3D PDFs, PNGs, step files, IGS and DXFs, plus many others. Some of these settings can be changed by the CAD user, as they only affect his or her local system. For example, I will change the option Auto Erase to False, which tells the connector to erase the CAD files from the local system and from the Creo session once they have been stored into the PLM system. We will see this in action in a few moments. Let's go back to our assembly. I can explore the properties of the assembly that is open in session and of all other files in my local work folder by opening the Connector Workspace Explorer. This is a useful tool that allows you to view in the same window both local system and PLM information for all the Creo files in your local work folder. For example, we have the PLM revision, generation and state, such as preliminary or released. The connector also shows information in the form of icons so that users can identify very quickly which CAD designs I have already registered but not yet stored, which ones, for example, have been locked by other users, or which ones are already released in the PLM system. If you are looking for PLM information about the Creo files that are open in session, the PLM tab is another very quick tool that provides useful real-time PLM information. Let's proceed and store our assembly into the PLM system. This operation will store the physical files into the Aras vault. Once again, the connector displays an intermediate window that allows us to review the information before we commit to store the documents into the PLM. We can visualize detailed information of the Aras CAD documents and even change this information if needed. For example, I can select the manufacturing method for each of the CAD documents by using this drop-down menu. The manufacturing method values are defined in the PLM system and the connector pulls these values from the PLM. Clicking on the List View tab allows me to sort by any column, such as name or document number. I could even change operation for some or all the items. The connector is going to create viewable files for each Creo file, and I'm able to check these viewables by clicking on this link on the right-hand side in the item details. When I click Store, the Creo files are copied into the Aras vault and all the forward and backward mappings take place. The connector prompts me to store the BOM. I click Yes and the connector automatically generates the BOM for my assembly. After reviewing the information in the connector window, I click Store. Now my design is securely stored in the PLM. As I had the connector setting Auto Erase set to false, the connector also keeps the files in session and in my local work folder. Before retrieving our assembly from the PLM, let's have a look at the items and relationships that the connector created for us in Aras Innovator. I search for the Aras part of the bike handle assembly and I open it in a new window. As you can see, the PLM attributes have been mapped from the Creo parameters and the BOM has been created. I could even create a multi-level indented BOM report. The connector also created all the part CAD relationships that link part items with CAD document items. From here, you can even open the viewable file for the 3D model and for the associated drawing that the connector created for you. Let's open the CAD document item of the assembly. The connector created the associated CAD structure displayed in this tab based on the Creo hierarchy. These are the CAD documents of the children of the top assembly. As you can see, the easy operations that we performed from within Creo allowed us to create all the Aras PLM items and relationships that are needed to represent our CAD design in the PLM system. For example, I browsed from the top assembly to the chassis CAD document. I see that the manufacturing method that I selected on the fly during the store operation from Creo has been mapped to the associated PLM attribute. And if I open the viewable file of the drawing of the chassis, I see that the connector also wrote that piece of information in the title block. To conclude this overview of the SAPLM connector, let's imagine that I need to reuse the bike handle assembly as a starting point for a new design. I just have to click Copy from the connector menu and this opens a search window. These advanced search and filter options can handle all the possible versions of the parts and assemblies in Aras Innovator, and they allow you to pin down the exact CAD document version that you are looking for. The search bar could even be customized by adding or removing columns with the PLM attributes that you need. And I could even tell the connector to display only the released PLM items or only the latest versions or specify an effectivity date. Let's search for all Aras CAD documents with bike in the name. I can easily spot the assembly using the thumbnails and the information displayed on the right-hand side. When I click View Hierarchy, the connector retrieves the information of the top assembly and all of its children. Once again, the connector hasn't physically retrieved the files from the Aras vault yet, as I have the chance to review and modify the information before the files are copied to my local work folder. Reusing the CAD design in the PLM is as easy as marking the components that I want to reuse as Save As and assigning a new name. These components will be independent components from the ones that are already present in the PLM. I could even replace components with other existing ones in the PLM directly from here. For example, I will replace the handlebar with another one where the central bar has been removed. The connector displays a search window that allows me to search for the new components in the PLM system. In this case, I will let the bike handle untouched, but I will tell the connector not to pull the shock absorber subassembly, as I won't need it. I mark the subassembly for exclude and I click copy. The CAD design is retrieved from the PLM, copied into my local work folder and opened in session. As you can see, the shock absorber subassembly has not been retrieved from the PLM. This is useful, for example, if you need only a part of your design and you don't want to transfer heavy files to and from the PLM system. If I now register the new design, I notice that the new top assembly is marked in green, meaning that I need to assign a part number to it to be able to register and store it. On the other hand, the other items are in blue, meaning that my new design is reusing the existing components in the PLM. We hope this brief introductory video helps you understand how the ASIC PLM's Creo connector seamlessly integrates your organization's Creo design data with the Aras Innovator PLM system. We have seen how deeply the connector is integrated within the Creo UI, which in turn allows a CAD designer, for example, to quickly retrieve the correct design from the Aras Innovator Vault right from within Creo. The connector also allows you to perform a detailed analysis and selection of models and drawings before committing to delivering the files from the Aras Innovator Vault. We have also seen how easy it is to reuse CAD design information thanks to the intuitive connector functions. The connector recognizes and supports Creo features and Aras PLM functionalities even when it comes to automatically generate part numbers thanks to the connector's Hierarchy Explorer. Accessing PLM information for the design opening session and even for all the CAD models in the local work folder is very easy thanks to the Connector Workspace Explorer and the integrated PLM tab. Finally, we have seen that automatically storing an assembly and its bill of materials is extremely quick and easy, and that the connector takes care of the mapping from all the Creo parameters into Aras Innovator attributes. It is also able to map PLM attributes back into your Creo 3D models and drawings title blocks. Once the connector has completed the store operation, the new design is available in Aras Innovator for all the users with the appropriate permissions. Among other things, the connector automatically creates relationships between the CAD documents and related part items, and it also tracks and updates the relationship between their specific versions. It updates the bills of materials and creates a variety of viewable files. For any information, including scheduling a one-on-one demonstration of the ASIC PLM's connectors, please call us or get in contact with us at info@asicplm.com. Thanks for watching.